Guys, it's us again. It's Marcel and Jack, and we are here together again to do the Beazy podcast. Today we have a special guest. It's Kendra. She's born and raised in Canada, and she's an amazing photographer. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much about her. Maybe she can explain herself. Hi, Kendra. Nice to have you here.
Hey.
Hey guys.
Tell us a bit
Nice to
about
be
it.
here.
Tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, so I guess I will just touch on photography topics because that's what we're here to talk about.
Yes.
But yeah, I was born and raised in Canada, and I went to photography school in Canada and started as an analog photographer, and then actually made my way to digital. And I wanted to be more artsy, and Canada at the time was more business orientated and not so many photographers living in Toronto as now. It's changed a little bit. And so I came to Berlin, and I seen that there was a lot of artists here and so many creative people. And then I made the choice to move here because I'm actually half Canadian, half British. So I was able to reside here full time. Yeah.
When did you move to Berlin?
A long time ago.
Okay.
That's my answer.
So you are a real Berliner already.
I feel like I've made the transition now to understanding the Germans and the German culture and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm comfortable here. When I first arrived, I was not, because Canadians were totally different in our personalities than Germans, so it took a time to adjust.
I can imagine, yeah. And you started first with analog. That's nice. So do you still shoot analog, or is it now more digital, or depending on the project?
Yeah.
So in school, we actually started first using 4x5 cameras. That was the first camera we were given to train with. And at first I was like, what is this thing? I hate this camera because it was so heavy. I had a big box, I can't even show you guys, a huge box that I had to carry around with me with a huge tripod to make photos and to learn and understand shadows and lights. And the school thought this was the best way for us to learn. So I actually learned on 4x5 and then darkroom in photography school. But before then, I learned 35 in high school. So I actually started when I was 17 years old, I guess, taking photos and getting into the whole vibe of photography.
Yeah, I think analog is really nice to learn all the important stuff because there is not that much room for error, so you really have to focus on the frame a lot. I just started with analog half a year ago, and I freaking love it, and I think it teaches a lot to photography or for digital photography as well.
It really does. It really makes analog. You really have to think because one, it's expensive to buy film, develop film, scan it. Or if you're not scanning it, if you're even doing the old school way of making prints and stuff like that, it's really expensive. So you really want to think about that frame. You really want to think about everything and that frame turns out and that you don't waste, all this film or making bad decisions. So yeah, it's a really good way to learn photography for sure. I think it's probably the best way.
Yes, I agree.
And what do you think about, what do you think about the current trend of films coming back? Now a lot of people are switching back to film again, and what are your thoughts about it?
So what I noticed is I made the choice to do digital because I was okay, this is more affordable for me. I can show my clients photos really quickly. I can give results faster. And so I just made the decision to shoot digital. And what I noticed is when working with other magazines this year, magazines started to ask me do you shoot analog? And I was yeah, but I don't anymore. But should I start? I can do it. I was okay. So I got my old analog camera out and let it rip. And then I noticed another magazine asked me, can you shoot analog? And I thought, okay, it must be starting to become a trend that people want to see film again. So maybe I should start investing some time and effort into bringing back some film shots into my portfolio. So actually I started doing that recently. And I think that it's making a big comeback right now from just the point of view of the magazines and that people don't want to see fake anymore. People are bored of over processed. I think they want to see reality. They want to feel when they look at a picture, it's telling a story, or it's it can feel that it's a real human and it's not so retouched, for example. I think this is I think retouching though has been a trend that's slowly been going out, but in a way that it will always stay.
Yeah.
But in the sense that people want to see more reality right now, as of the times, like people want to see like older pictures of older people, for example, not just young people the whole time. So I think that all goes hand in hand with like film coming back and making its debut again. Everybody wants film. I mean, it's sold out even in here. Like if you want to get like cheaper films somewhere, they're sold out everywhere. So it's
They're also super expensive now.
Definitely, yeah.
They are even more expensive now. They raised the prices of all the films.
they know that there's a boom in film right now. Film cameras, if you're going to buy a film camera right now, it's going to be more expensive than it was a couple months ago. So it's quite interesting, and I think it's really cool. I'm quite excited for this trend actually. Yeah.
What's your favorite film, or which one is your favorite film?
I've been experimenting with film right now, and I like the Kodak Gold 200. That's like a cheaper film. And then what's the other one I've been using? It gives like a nice bubbly color. 1 second. It will come to me.
No hurry.
Yeah. It's the Actor 100.
Yes. I know
Actor 100. This is really nice. It gives like, I would say like bubbly colors, like if you know what I mean, like more realistic colors. And
I shot this one as well.
Yeah. And how long have you said you just started shooting film for the last 6 months?
I had like in the first Corona lockdown, I bought myself my first analog camera because there was a lot of time. I wanted to experience something new. Then I've been shooting like 1 or 2 months only analog. Then I realized, damn, it's expensive. So I should really think more about what I'm shooting. Then I had a break for like 3 months. And now since 1 month, I shoot a lot analog daily. I even shoot a commercial analog lately, which I posted today. And
That's cool.
I super love it because I also think it's like more real and people don't want that perfect stuff all the time. And so I don't know, for me it's like I don't have to edit the pictures and nothing, so I really love the process of just taking pictures and taking them as they are without spending hours and hours on the computer. And also it teaches a lot for digital photography because normally I was shooting every angle and then looking what's best, and for analog it's like I think before and I choose my angle before, and I really love the process. And also like waiting for the film is like being a 6-year-old child for Christmas. So it's like always it's super nice. I really love it.
I think like, how did you feel shooting a commercial on digital? It's always a little bit stressful for you, thinking about like, you know, is it going to turn out, or did you also shoot digital at the same time? Like, how did you?
Digital and analog at the same time. So to just make sure if the analog photos don't turn out nice, I have some backup. But they turned out amazingly. A client loved them, and I just posted them today, and I'm super happy with it.
See, that's cool. I like that. I hope that they bring that back. Like that more companies are like, okay, we want you to shoot film, because also that will rule out a lot of people who are really into photography and who are just like shooting digital, maybe using automatic, for example. So I think that will change things a little bit. It could change the dynamics a little bit of photographers in the future, maybe.
Hopefully.
But also the project that you definitely.
Yeah.
But also the project that you selected for the commercial shoot, like there was advanced move, like you had to set up, play with the light and so on.
Yeah. But that's always for analog. You cannot correct it afterwards.
Definitely.
So you have to think about everything in advance, and if there's no good light, then you cannot fix it afterwards because you cannot bring up the shadows like in a raw file. So when it's done, it's done. Yeah. So it doesn't work. But yeah, I think it's so much fun and it teaches a lot. So it's really nice, especially now in the winter times. There's not that much light, and then you can play with grain and stuff, and also like bring your own lights and colors. And I shot a lot of cine still. I really love the colorful look of the lights and stuff, but hey, it's so expensive. So
I don't know. I
Definitely.
shot a roll of cine. Okay, so I had a photo shoot and I only brought one roll of film with me, and the model that I was working with, she was like, "Oh, I have like a roll of cine still. Like, let's use this." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Like, I haven't tried this yet." But and I saved like a couple frames to do some night shots outside. But I wasn't in love with the Cinestill, actually. I know a lot of people really like it, but I was like, it's okay. It has a lot of green. It has a lot of green tones in it, and I think I'm more drawn to this. Like, I mean, if people check my portfolio as well, like I'm definitely drawn to like explosion of color. So for me, cinematic photography and nighttime photography, I love to look at it, and I think that it's really cool. But for me, like personally, I love like the candy pop explosions of colors, like especially digital colors. I love digital colors as well. But Cinestill is definitely something I need to experiment more with. I think I need to get a couple rolls, but it is expensive. It's really expensive.
It has gotten expensive now. Like it has become
like
very
$13 a roll. But same like Portra is also $14 a roll. So it's like really crazy. But this is also the good thing because it's that expensive. You think a lot about the frame because you don't want to waste the money. So it's also attractive that it costs that much.
Yeah, it's definitely something. I did like a whole editorial shoot on 3 rolls of film, and on my very last frame, I looked down at the camera and I was like, oh my gosh, all the settings are not right.
Oh,
damn.
And I was like, oh my gosh, because I know that like from being trained with it and using it in the past, I'm always checking my settings. It's just like a habit. But then you like, I like doubted myself, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, what if I did that for like 10 frames in this editorial with like flash it and stuff? I thought, oh my gosh, but then I got the film back and it was only like that 1 frame and I was so excited. I was like, okay, thank you universe, because you really need to think about those shots and just everything. Like it just, even like pulling the focus can take longer. The whole process of it is more thinking and concentrating. Whereas I think with digital, you're like, I can just rip it out. I can just click until I find something that satisfies me. And it's not the same. It's not
Definitely.
the same, for sure.
But how is it working with the models normally, like in terms of portrait shooting with analog? Because in digital, like you can check your frame, like if the eye is closed or something, then you can ask the model to repose again. But how is the thought process on shooting portraits in analog?
Yeah, you just have to have that patience and make sure it's the right time at the right, like right now what I'm doing, what I find works for me right now in like today's age is sometimes if I have the time, I'm taking like a digital camera with me, making a couple frames, saying, okay, I like the way you're positioned there, I like the pose. Okay, now I'm gonna do an analog. So just stay in the same pose, don't move, and then we're going to shoot it analog. And that's a good way to do it these days if you have access to both, obviously.
Yes, I did this as well. And what also works for me when shooting analog, I let the model know 1 or 2 seconds before I press the shutter so that she is not blinking and stuff like this. And this works most of the time. And when it's an important shot, I take like 2 frames of one, but that's maximum.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think I was doing like a shot and the model blinked and I was like, shit. And
one buck wasted.
especially if you're using like strobe lights. Like I also incorporate strobe lights to my analog photos as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's really fun. Actually, I like the results of using strobe lights with film the most. It's my favorite. Favorite for studio, but I was like, nah, that's a lie. It's not my favorite because I think natural light is my favorite. Yeah. But strobe with film is really nice because it comes out really crispy, like really sharp and more detailed. Whereas like outside, you could, sometimes have a little bit of blurs here and there.
Definitely.
Totally
But
agree.
how do you synchronize the strobes? Like what other extra step that you need to take care switching from digital to analog on strobe lights?
Well, I use Profoto and I have like the Profoto trigger and I just put it on top of the cameras, check the light meter and then boom, just let it rip and it turns out fine. Yeah. The same as digital. It's the same as digital, but just with analog. But it turns out really nice. Like I really like the results of it. I did a beauty shooting recently, commercial beauty shooting.
Yeah.
And I shot it. They obviously wanted the photos digitally, but then I asked, like, in between, can I make some film shots for myself? And I did that, and I love the results on the Ector, and it turned out so nice. The Ector, the colors, I love them so much. It's my favorite film for sure.
What light meter do you use? Is it an app or do you have a device?
I have so my light meter is from my school days. So years and years ago when.
Now we're back. Yeah.
So I think it's a Minolta. light
Okay.
meter.
Yeah.
I really suggest too, if using analog, like get a light meter. I know everyone says like the phone light meters are good. I haven't tested it yet because I have a light meter. But I just from like my training, like light meters are always on point. Like I just look at like the film shots I recently shot outside using a light meter, and the colors are perfect. The exposure is perfect. It couldn't be more perfect. Like the blacks and the grays and the whites, they're all like exactly how you would see them in real life, and it's so cool. I love a light meter.
I should get one. You sold me.
And just
You know, go on like eBay and get like a used one, because those old ones, they're like built to just be incredible. Like they're so good. And there's different things that you can do with light meters, like like exposing just like the highlights and then the shadows, and then you can decide on how to make the exposure so that it could be like more of the shadows or more of the highlights. And I think that's really cool with the light meters.
What's the normal or good price for a light meter? What's the normal or good price for a light meter? When I check eBay later?
I see them that they're really expensive right now. Like I think back in the day, mine was probably about $1,000 new, Canadian $1,000, and I think I paid like $600 for it.
Still a lot.
And now I see them for like 600 euros online, because I was like looking if I should upgrade it, but then it works perfectly. So I was just like, oh no, just keep this. And it's the one thing I never sold out of my like kit. You know how you like sell your gear?
Yeah.
You get new gear.
Yeah.
And I always looked at my light meter like, always sometimes thinking about selling it, and then I was like, because I don't need it when I shoot digital. But for film, it's perfect. You need a light meter. It's just, it's helping in so many ways.
And how did you get into portraits? Did you experiment with different types of photography genres before you selected portraits, or have you been shooting portraits since the beginning?
Yeah, so it always comes back to school for me. But we had to make choices in school, like with certain projects that we liked, and I noticed that I always wanted to shoot people, and I was just like, I need to shoot people. It's just like, so I know some people, they love like just shooting buildings, for example, and for me that's super boring. Like I die from boredom. I need like the interaction of being with somebody else, and just like the movement of a human. Everything about humans fascinates me, whereas like a shot of a convenience store, some people would think like, this is great, I love this, and I'm like, oh, it's so boring for me. So everybody's different, and we're all completely different in as humans in what we like and what we don't like, and that's totally fine. It's just like, yeah, my preference would definitely be taking portraits or beauty. I just like being close. I like the interaction, and I don't know, I'm just drawn to that.
Yeah, your work is really amazing. I checked your website and your Instagram yesterday, and it looks really amazing. And you also shot a ton of super famous people. I loved your pictures from Wiz Khalifa and stuff. So really, really nice work. How did it get to that? Where did you meet him, or was it like? Just tell us.
Yeah, so I would say that all happened through having a really good friend of mine. His name's Raphael, and he hooked that all up. It was all through a friend. So it's all about knowing the right people. Sometimes you get lucky, or also I think like having the right energy. Like I think at that time when that happened for me, I was at a point in my life where I was just like at a really high point on energy, like keeping my thoughts positive, like trying to like shelter myself from negative people and just like keep my thoughts on like a good way. And I think like here comes the spirituality point, but like I think like the universe brings that to you when you're at the right point.
I believe that as well.
Of how your mentality is. That's what I think. Yeah. But Wiz Khalifa is like the coolest person that I've met, I guess, that's like had a really cool interaction with. I think he's like such a cool person. I had a really nice conversation with him, and it was a really fun evening. Yeah. I was really like nervous the first time I shot with Winnie Harlow, for example.
Yeah, this was the next one I wanted to ask you. Yeah, because she's amazing as well.
Like I'm so thankful to her for that opportunity, because it was because of her that I got to, hang out and meet Wiz. So it was big shout out and thank you to Winnie Harlow. She's really cool. So the first time I shot her, I was like really nervous because I had never taken photos of a famous person before. But it's just so cool. You just realize like they're just normal and you just go there and you do your job. the night that I did that job, it was quite an intense evening. Getting the photos was intense, and I kind of had to have like a paparazzi role, and that was really stressful for me. I would never want to be a paparazzi. That would never be the job for me. I think they have really stressful jobs. I think their jobs are super stressful. But yeah, shooting famous people was really cool. I really want to do more of that. Like that's like a big goal for me, is to do more of that, because it's just cool, it's fun, and you know, it's exciting to be able to share that with people and say like I got to work with some bigger names. It's always like not a bad thing, but yeah, I would love to do more of that in the future. Like I've also shot with like some really big influencers here in Germany.
I saw, yes.
Which is also really cool. And I think I just love the interaction of shooting with people. So it doesn't matter if you're famous or non-famous, but if you're famous, like that's cool, because then more people are gonna know like the face when they see it. But yeah, I just love shooting people, and I hope that I can continue to shoot all different types of people. Yeah.
So guys, if you listen, you can always text Kendra and she would love to shoot you after Corona, I guess. Are you still working right now, or how is it working for you?
I am, but I'm obviously like wearing a mask, and if my team is here, we all have to wear masks, and like I just have like hygiene things, like can you guys wash your hands like at the start, just to like make sure, you know, that we pay attention to all the rules as best as we can, I think. And I'm trying to also shoot more outside, and I'm also trying to keep the teams as small as possible.
Okay.
If there's not a need for an extra person, then an extra person can't be here. So like I will cut out having an assistant, for an example. So no assistants at this time.
Sure. But generally, like how big is your team when you do projects like this?
Well, if it's like a personal project, it's always a small team. And if it's like a commercial project, it's always a really big team. Yeah. I think that's like the standard.
Do you develop, when you shoot commercial on film, do you develop yourself, or do you have like a favorite lab where you go to, or?
Yes. So I really wanted to develop myself. I was like, oh, it's so expensive, and then I have to bring it to the shop every time. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought I'm just going to keep doing it at the shop because of all the chemicals and the process of the chemicals, and like also putting the chemicals down the drain. Or I don't want to like, I'm hoping that the place where I get my film developed, they do all of that in like a good way, like disposing of it in the correct way. I go to Photo Meyer to develop my film, and you can pay for express and get it in an hour, or you can pick it up the next day, which is fine. I don't live that far from there, so I just like get on the bike and
so you should not live as far from my place as well. Photo Meyer is just a few minutes from my place. But
do you have a place in your area?
I lately go to Photo Cotti because I have like a collab with them, so I get it a little bit cheaper, and I show how I visit them, and I really like to support your local photo shop. But I also went often to Jet Photo at Alexanderplatz because they are super professional, but it's like really expensive. So you pay for a high quality scan like $40. So yeah, they are really expensive. But they are doing it really good, and you get it on the same day, so they are really fast. But it's too expensive when you shoot a lot of film. It's too much.
I know what scanner they're using like right now, because that's crazy. That's crazy.
But getting scanned is the most expensive part, right? Like to buy a scanner for yourself or getting scanned is the most expensive part.
I asked another film photographer, Glacier, lately. He has a scanner for $650, and he told that's like enough, and he just develops the films for $2 to $3 and scans them by himself. I already made the math. It's like 100 rolls of film that the scanner paid itself. But it's also a huge investment, so
Yeah, I recently invested with my partner because he's shooting film as well, and we got a scanner. So because it was just like, it just made sense. I was like, I was like, for 120 they wanted €4 per scan, and I was like, that is insane. I was like, no, like this, if we do that, we will lose more money in the end if we shoot analog. So I think if you make the decision that you want to shoot an analog, you have to know that you're going to have to make these investments here and there, and you just, if you make those investments, you're saving money long term. So better to get yourself a scanner. It's expensive. It's annoying, but it will pay off in the end than if you go to the shop and pay for those €40 scans. That's crazy to me.
Can you recommend a good scanner?
Epson make really nice scanners and get the high quality ones. They're about $800, 800 to $1,000. You'll see when you see the prices on them. Those are the good ones. Those are the ones that I used as well in photography school. And they haven't changed since, like, I don't know, I was like, how old was I when I started photography school? Like 20 something. Like it was a long time ago. Like we're talking over 10 years ago, and the scanners haven't changed. So yeah, get an Epson. That's my best suggestion. I think there's some other ones in the market I was looking into. One, I can't remember the name of it, but I was looking into it, and you can just like put your strips inside. But the 35 was like 300 euros, and then to do like the 120, it was costing like 1,000. I thought, okay, no, I just get an Epson then, because you know, like the more and more money you have to pay as a photographer, it's so expensive to be a photographer, so you have to really make like decisions about all these financial things all the time, and you always want to try and save money wherever you can, because it's just like such big investments the whole time.
Definitely. And we wanted to ask like about TFP shoots in the market these days. Like, what are your views on it?
Yeah, so TFP is, I think it's really abused so much in Berlin and everywhere. Like it's a really abused term, and I think it's something that we really should think about as photographers, and we should have more talks as photographers about it. And we should, like, unfortunately, I always said that I wish there was like a union for photographers, because then we could avoid being so abused as artists. Because like, what I mean by that is TFP should be like something as an artist that you choose to do. Like, I choose this model, I want to take photos with you together, or I choose this makeup artist, do you want to work together with me? Let's work together. And you like make the decision to work together to create something for yourselves. That's different. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
But for example, like I get messages on my Instagram, like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 messages a day from people asking me to take their photos, and they expect that I should do their photos as a TFP. And I think it's like, sometimes I get so angry about it. I'm like, oh my God, stop messaging me. These people, like, why do you keep messaging? But then I'm like, okay, try to be fair, try to be a good person here, and, you know, give them a respectful message, just saying, like, if you want to shoot with me, you know, like, it doesn't come as a TFP. TFPs are like choices that I make, and I look for specific teams, and I think about what I want to do with a TFP. And I notice a lot of companies as well, they put up things like, get exposure with us and get a TFP, and you can, you know, have like a free pair of pants or something. But it's like, being a photographer is so expensive. Pants are not paying my bills or for my gear and all my stuff. And like, I just think that it's something as photographers, we really need to like stop. When you start out, you want to like do everything you can. You think like working with everybody is going to help you, but it really screws the whole industry. So it's a topic it's a very sensitive topic, I think, for photographers, but I think it's something that should be addressed like so much more often and talked about in forums more, so that you know what to do and not to do when you start out, and you know what to do and not to do also when you get advanced. Because of course you're always going to shoot creatively. Every photographer needs to shoot creatively. But when you shoot people, it's a bit more complicated than just shooting like a building, for example. You have way more things that you have to think about. And so I don't know, I think this is just something that we should discuss way more and talk about, because also, for these people that send me messages and asking me to shoot them, like, I find it really offensive, and they probably just think that it's okay to behave like that, but it's really not. Just because people think that they look good, or that they have the nice photos already that they've shot with other photographers for free, doesn't mean that they can come to me and expect that I should shoot them for free. It's really unfair, and it's a really big problem. And it's one of the biggest problems that I wish. Sure where I left off. I think it was something along the lines of like, I get a lot of messages if we had a photography union with like specific rules, like all the photographers, you know, as soon as you become a photographer, you're in this group, and then you can help each other out with like, you know, these TFP requests and stuff like that, and as well as the messages that people send, you know. So I don't know, it's a big topic, and I really think if more photographers talked about it, we could avoid there being so much requests for free work.
Definitely.
It's a bit too much. And being, like I said, being a photographer, which most people don't know, that are just like, for example, like models might not know, or just other people that want their photo taken, they have no idea the expense that it is to be a photographer. Like it is a massive expense. And it's a massive amount of training and constantly educating yourself. And it's just something that should not be it shouldn't be something that's free all the time. It should definitely be something that's more special, you know? And back in the day, if we were going back to analog and touching back on that.
Yeah, it was special.
It wasn't like an overflow in the market of it. And, you know, you had to understand light and you had to understand shadow, and you would always get hired for your jobs. There was none of this like free work stuff. This didn't exist. Like back in the day, modeling agencies had to pay photographers to get the models' photos. They don't do that anymore. And if they do, it's only a selected few that have the opportunity to have those jobs. The rest, they want people to all do it as a TF work, and that's fine. Like I said, it's fine when you're like making the decisions to work with certain models, it's fine. But what I mean is, like in the olden days, like back in the day, you know, photographers were more respected than they are now. And there's a lack of respect for photographers in general. And I just think that, for all the people seeing this, don't message me and ask me for free photos, because I get really annoyed by it. Like like, you know, you get 3 of those, 4 of those in a day. It can ruin like your whole vibe or feeling, because you're just annoyed that people are wanting like free work from you. And I've had companies and designers and stuff like that asking me for things like that, and it's always just like, no. So
no, I totally agree with you on this point. Like TFP on one basis, like it should be something where as a photographer, when they see a certain place that they can improve their skills, they can of course work on their own personal project and then request people for TFP shoots. But on the other hand, it should not be like all the time.
And it should bring value for both of the sides,
exactly,
and not only for one side. But I think these days, thanks to social media and also to smartphone photography, there are many people taking pictures and they kind of lost the value of a photo because they think it's like the same with a phone. And also the market is really flooded with photographers, so they always find somebody for free. And I think this is kind of the problem somehow.
No, it's not only the expense, of course, it's not only the expense that you put in to buy your gear and this editing software and so on, but it's also your time, the amount of time you put in to complete a certain project. It can take away like few days from you. And when you are giving so much value for a free project, it should be definitely something really worth for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And touching on what you just said about the smartphone, like the smartphone as a photographer too is like a really frustrating thing. It frustrates me so I can't tell you how much it frustrates me. Like, you know, I'm on a commercial photo shoot and they're like, well, can you make the photo look like this? And I'm like, well, no, because this is like, you know, average exposure, and go and take your phone photos and try to blow them up big and make them look good. They will not. I don't care what anybody says. The sensors of these phones are really tiny and they're still not as big as the sensors that come on professional cameras. And I just can't hear about the smartphone anymore. Take it. The video on the iPhone is just as good. Yeah, only when you're looking on your iPhone though. Now, when you're looking like let's talk about bigger, looking on the computer or looking at an even bigger screen, it's not going to be that good. But that's just my opinion. People might come at me for the iPhone stuff.
But most of the people use the photos or videos only for social media, so they will never see it somewhere else than just on a phone. And I sometimes enjoy shooting with a smartphone, but only for small format and mostly for like getting creative, because I don't have to worry about the settings and stuff, so I can really focus on a frame. But for me, it's just things that end up in my stories and nowhere else. So I know that before.
I mean, for social media, it's like you said, but it like this whole concept too of like the smartphone and analog and the whole conversation that we had today, it would really, if more film comes back, it really rules out just using a smartphone, which is cool. So hopefully it makes a big comeback. Let's see how it goes though. But yeah, I think touching back on the TFP thing, it's definitely something that should be very special and chosen. And If a photographer messages you and they say like, hey, you look really good, I want to work with you, I think that's a really big compliment. And it comes off a lot better when the photographer messages you directly or comes to you directly. But I think like when people message photographers, they should be very careful with choosing their words or how they go into that conversation. It shouldn't just be like, hey, what's up? I'm an influencer and I have nice photos and I want more nice photos from you. And it's like, no. So, yeah, it's a sensitive topic for me and it's something that drives me crazy at the same time. So I just wanted to, have a little chat about that for sure. That's really interesting.
But definitely on the other side, like, of course, the photographers also has a responsibility to choose the right people like for their projects. And one other thing, the other side of the conversation is that people, some photographers think that, okay, they can approach anyone, irrespective of the idea behind their concept, because they have not thought through what they want to achieve in the shoot, and then approach all the people they can to get some free shoot. So it should be.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't agree with that. That's like what I don't like. I seen, for example, a posting the other day of a person, and they were just like, hey, I want to do a TFP shoot because I need new portraits. I need new photos. Well, that's not how TFP works. TFP, in my opinion, as like, let's say as a beauty and fashion photographer, we're not talking portraits. Let's just talk about where I'm working right now, because that could come in so many different forms. I don't want to work with somebody that just wants new photos of themselves. That doesn't do anything for me. That's me helping you, not you helping me. And if we're going to work on a TFP project, we're helping each other together. It's not, it's a team effort. It's not just one person helping the other person or doing everything else for the other person. When I work on a TFP, I need a professional model. I need somebody who knows how to move, who, understands camera, understands light a little bit, so that we can come out with great images. I don't need somebody who just needs new photos of themselves because they need CV photos or something like.
Sure.
So that's where the thin line comes in, and where people just think that, and unfortunately people, when they want new photos, they know the term TFP and they try to go after it. And like you said, they're going to message every single photographer until one photographer's like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's do it. I'm new. I need to practice as well. And that's okay. And if they make the decision to do that, but it is an abused term, because you can really go and go and go until you get what you want. And like I said, in the olden days, I like to say that word, or back in the day, you would have to pay a photographer to get your portraits. So
back then it was even way more difficult. So you really needed that skill to take a good photo. Back then the images don't work if you don't know what you're doing. And like you said, you really got to understand light, shadows, all the settings. And now these days you can just shoot automatic mode and it will turn out somehow, I don't say good, average. And when you then can edit it, it will work. But back then it was really a high skill needed to do the good photos.
And back then also, compared to now, what I see a lot of now, jumping onto a different topic, what I see a lot now with a lot of new photographers is that the light is always the same. We don't see a lot of different lighting these days as for example, when I was in training and it was more, digital was just coming to the market, it was more film. There was so much more to the lighting and the shadows, and there was so much more to look at. A lot of photographers these days just shoot with one light, and it's I don't know, I think that this is a tip for people starting out, or people that are interested in photography, play with light. If you're a photographer, you are a light master. And that is what your job is. Actually, you are a light master before you are working and understanding a camera. You have to learn light. And if you don't really know light, then for me, it's if you have a client and say you only shoot just one light, and then the client says, well, I want this, and you don't know how to do that, you're going to run into problems. So be a light master, understand light, go rent different lighting modifiers and learn and play with light. That's what I'm still learning light. I mean, it's been I've been a photographer for over 10 years and I'm still learning light. I haven't even touched the tip of how much there is to learn about light. So I think that's really important as just like a tip for.
Yeah, photography means painting with light. So this is the definition of photography. So light is the most important thing. Yeah, totally agree.
Exactly.
And I think that's the interesting thing that I would love to see more of when I, go on Instagram, for example, is I see a lot of bright lit, nice lit, retouched images, but I'm craving something more. And that's what I hope to see like more in the future is like more dramatic lighting. And even myself, like I will be trying to always work on new ways of lighting and experimenting with light because that's the fun part. But I hope to see like more of that in this industry, like up and coming. There's a few photographers that I love and I follow them just because of that. But I would love to see more of that from people.
Do you want to do a shout out for those people?
Yeah, please do share if you want to.
If I was to do a share, I'd have to like give a list and send it to you guys after.
Sure.
Maybe you can post it in the comments or something like after. I don't know how it works with posting this, but there's a few that I have in mind, but I need to go and check their pages and then send you the links because I don't actually, that's another thing for me as a photographer. I try not to check other people's work too often. Only sometimes, and there's only like a handful of people that I look to. And those people are like the ones where like I'm just set on looking at their stuff. And then I try not to look too much to other photographers.
To keep your mind clear.
I used to do it a lot more. But there's so many talented and amazing people out there, and I think you should just stay focused on what you're doing and stay focused on your own project. That's just my view, and that's just something that I do personally. It's just a personal thing.
We talked now about social media. So how important is social media for you? Do you put a lot of work and effort on it, or is it just a side thing for you?
Oh, social media.
I got the message.
I have mixed feelings about social media, mixed feelings, because first of all, I think social media for people is a highly addictive, dopamine filling thing that came out, and everyone's addicted to it. If you have Instagram, you're addicted. Like there's no way that you have Instagram and you're not addicted. And if you are, then you have like a set timer that you're like checking Instagram. So for me, I think as a photographer, you need to have Instagram because even like nowadays, even people don't even care if you have a website. They want to see your Instagram. They want to see how many followers you have, how many likes you get on your pictures, and they want to see like what you're presenting. And that's just like the reality of going with the times, and that is what the time is now. So I think social media is super important. But I think it makes life a little bit harder because it's a constant battle, because it's like more and more stuff to worry about. It's like you got to run a business, you got to do your Instagram, then you got to think about maybe doing a TikTok, then you got to check your Facebook, and it's a lot of extra work. But I find that, for example, my jobs or how I get work is not so much through social media. Very rarely for me. It's more about knowing people and talking to people that I find the right clients.
For me, it's the opposite. I get the most of the jobs over social media, but I just started 1 year ago as a freelancer. So now it's also getting through the network or through people I already worked with recommending me to other people's. But in the beginning, I think social media is super strong to get your first clients and to get your work out, because a lot of eyeballs are on that app every day. So
exactly.
That's how I feel about it. Like I said, I have total mixed feelings about it from the day that I got it until now. Like years later, I still have mixed feelings about it. I think it's just like, it can have very positive effects and it can have very negative effects. So it's how you use it and how you use it, how not to abuse it. And for me, it's more like just posting and then getting off. That's how I am. I try not to be on there too often, but that's not good, because as well, if you're playing the whole Instagram game, you need to interact with other people, and you need to make sure that you're just doing stuff that makes the algorithm happy. And for me, that's where I struggle. Like, I don't know. I just wish I could, like, I wish it was different for me. I wish that there was no Instagram and I could just post on my website and just focus like 100% of my attention on just like creating and not so much like editing and posting. That would be nice for me, but that's also a personal preference. Like I said, we're all different.
But I totally feel that.
I think like at one point, like everyone goes through this phase where they realize, okay, they are spending way too much time than creating, but posting in social media, engaging and consuming a lot of content that kind of changes their day. Like whatever you absorb from the social media also changes the way you lead your day. And everyone goes through a phase at one point. I think like, okay, this is too much. Now I need to shut down now I need to get a detox for some time and once again come back.
And also, it somehow often defines your work. So I caught myself often shooting for the algorithm, but not shooting what I personally enjoy. And 1 month ago, I made a decision to stop that and just shoot what I like. And it's getting less engagement, but I'm happy. And I think that's more important. On the long run, this will pay off. I even turned off notifications 1 month ago. It was the best thing I ever did. So I think it's really a strong tool. But
notifications turned off forever since I first got it. So I think that you get those like little things on your phone. I'm the type of person like I have to have my phone volume off the whole day because the phone going and like all the social, it's too much for me. But it's interesting that you just said that because about your Instagram, how you just started posting for yourself and not posting for the algorithm, because I recently tried something like that with my Instagram, like putting a picture that was totally different to everything I did, and it failed epically. Like nobody was really into that, but I thought like this is a really cool picture, like I really like it. And it's like it's so hard to make those choices, like should I post this to get the attention or should I post it for myself? And I think it's really cool, for example, that you said now you're posting for yourself versus the algorithm, because you're posting more for yourself as an artist than just what the robot likes.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure. And it feels much better, and also the work is way more fun. And before it was often the pressure to deliver all the time, and now it feels like I'm really looking forward to share these projects because I enjoy them myself, and I think that's a good way of photography.
Yeah, and it's really nice that you started to shoot animals too.
Thank you.
And also, like when people share, like when you start sharing things which you're really passionate about, and then see the result, some people shut down because that's the crowd that we gathered by following the same pattern over and over for the last term. And then when we are suddenly changing, okay, it takes time for the audience to resonate with you and then understand, okay, you are going through this phase, and they can decide either they want to stick with you or leave.
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what's happening right now with me too. Like that's exactly what you said. That's what I'm going through. It's like people are here probably for this like bubble colors and like color bomb. And then I posted like a completely desaturated photo, and everyone was like, "What is this?" I didn't really understand it, but I think. Even speaking to you guys now, I'm like, I'll try it again now. Now just kind of maybe post to be an artist and what I want to post, and not so much worrying about the algorithm or the audience. Like you might change as an artist, you can't always stay the same, and some people might not like the new stuff you do, and then you might get new people that like the new stuff that you do. So it's a wave. It comes in a wave.
Sure. It's not about the quantity of people, it's about the quality of people. We had one guy in our podcast a few weeks ago, and he had like a really small following, but his work was so amazing, and he worked with Audi, with Mammut, with AHP, with Suspicious. And this was for me like an eye-opener. You don't need that much people, you need the right people. And when your work is good, they will hire you and don't care about your following. It's really about good work.
It's that's for sure. And I also think that it's also, meeting the right people too. Like I'm just assuming, I don't know, that he probably met some of the right people from this. And that with like really good work is like...
And you are totally right. You are totally right. He met another bigger photographer, and they both vibed good together, and then they started creating together, and that brought him into that industry, and now he's working by himself there. So mindset is
That's really
everything,
cool, yeah.
right?
Definitely, definitely.
That's what I think you have to, that's what I mean. You have to have like a good energy and just, you can meet, it's like, that's how it goes. You meet one really great person who's helping you and just like pushing you through or introducing you to another great person. And then it's just like, that's how, I think that's how it works in this business,
Totally.
from my opinion, or my personal experience. Yeah.
You also texted something about filmmaking. What do you think about filmmaking? Are you into filmmaking or
Oh
you're
yeah.
just
Oh yeah. I
yeah?
love it. I love
Just tell us a little bit about it.
I started getting into video. I started getting into video when I like years ago. Like I used to, before even Instagram came out, I used to take a camera with me and record like everything I was doing, like stories. It's so weird to look back on those videos now. And I was really into already making video back then, but not seriously. And then slowly, more and more, I've gotten into video, and I'm just like, I'm at that point right now where I don't ever want to make like films. I don't want to make films. I'm not that good of a storyteller to make a film, but I love making like short little videos. I really enjoy it. I think it's really fun. It's also it kind of brings back that like film feeling, because you have to think more and use the lights in different ways. So it's kind of like, oh well, I want to lay it like this, but it doesn't look like that, so I need to think. And I think it's just really fun to experiment with filmmaking, and I think in the future I will do a lot more of it. But I'm really at the start. I would say it's only been like a year and a bit since I got more serious about filmmaking.
Do you edit yourself, or do you got somebody to help you, or how is your filmmaking process?
Yeah, everything I do by myself.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then
Everything,
it's a lot
like
of
I
work,
make
right?
my own website by myself. I've always been like that hands-on person that I want to do stuff myself. Yeah, I like to do everything by myself. That's not always the best way to go. I highly recommend working with other people to help you go faster or get things done faster if you can. But I've always been from the bottom. When I started photography till now, I've worked for everything for myself. Like did all the dirt for myself. I didn't like have like rich parents to like feed me money or something, so I had to hustle everything myself. And I just got into that vibe of doing everything for myself, you know. 10 years in my first website, stuff like that. So I just got used to doing everything for myself, and it feels better for me personally. But sometimes, like now, I'm at the point where I slowly start to work with assistants or retouchers to help the load of work, but I'm not spending my whole lifetime on the computer retouching, for example.
Sure.
Yeah, I think especially when you do video, it's like I really love shooting video, but always on the computer I think like, oh my gosh, can somebody help me and cut all the stuff together, because it's like so much time, and I enjoy the shooting, but I don't enjoy the time on the computer editing. So I think for video it can help, but when you do it by yourself, you have like more control. So yeah, both got pros and cons, I guess.
Yeah.
I love recording the video, and I love editing the video. I don't know why. Just like cut it and like watch it and then cut it, and but that's touches on another topic we were talking about. It's a constant education. It's a constant education. You know, like you want to learn video, well, you've got to teach yourself how to cut video now if you want to do it. Unless you want to, pay someone else. But then once again, you have more expenses, and then the list is just like ever gathering of the expenses that you have. And that's something, like that a lot of people don't understand, how you like live this life. But video and film is just so cool. I'm so in love with that as well. Like that's my two new loves right now would be like video and analog for sure. And I think it goes hand in hand though. Like I think it would just be so cool even one time in this lifetime for me to, just be a director of photography. So I could just say, I like this framing, this looks good, hold it there. Like, cause I'm like all about framing, and I love framing. Like that's my jam. So I think that's what I love about film, just to see like the moving frames. It's like taking a photo and pressing play. It's super cool.
Definitely.
I really like it. And what about you? Do you guys do any filming?
Yeah, I
Like
started,
that
I wanted to
series.
learn the software, and then so I thought like, okay, I also wanted to do YouTube for quite some time. So I started shooting by myself, and then I had more control. Like I was playing around with the light, and I was just framing myself, understanding what settings work, like how the software works. So yeah, I love the process, but it's very time consuming. I
It
totally
is.
agree, but I totally love it, like because I was experimenting the same way as how I started photography, and then I was like given this new software. I had to watch a lot of tutorials and then learn by myself, pick up what I need, what I don't need, understand the overall workflow. So that was super fun. So I loved it. I missed doing it for quite some time due to the other projects that I'm working on, but I wanted to get back once again. When I speak to you, when you were telling me all these things, and then I was running through my mind like, oh yeah, that was actually fun. Like it was draining me a lot, but actually it was fun doing it.
Exactly. The only thing too is like the only thing with film that's hard while making videos for me is like it makes my computer explode.
Yeah.
Yes, same.
It's like the computer's just like no. So that's another thing. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
need like
yeah,
faster and better computers than the
Cost
average
controllers.
person, for example. You know,
definitely.
my computer's at its end of life now, and I will be investing soon. That will be my next investment in a new computer, so that when I do edit videos, I can get through it smoother without the lagging and stuff like that. Yeah. But I really like cutting video. I don't know. I could cut other people's videos and I would really enjoy it. I think it's also a process I really
Maybe I
like.
get back to you because I enjoy shooting, but I don't enjoy the cutting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people out there and they're just full-time cutters. That's what they do
Yeah,
all
yeah.
day, and they're really good at it. And I think it also comes down to perspective. Like maybe a video cutter would say like, oh, you don't cut it as good as it should be done, and they see things that other people don't see. So yeah, it's like a learning process, and it's just something you have to. It's maybe you just don't like what I've learned from you about this interview is that you like to do the creative process like shooting or recording video, but the editing stuff you don't like and you would prefer other people to do for.
It depends. It depends. Sometimes I like it, but I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours on it. And also, like when I work on video, my computer is also exploding. And for me, when it's lagging, I have a thought. I want to bring it on the computer, and it takes 2 seconds. It's like, oh my gosh. So I really want to have it more flowing, and I think with a better computer it would work. But I also assisted many filmmakers in the last time just to get into video, and all of them they just shoot and then they give it to the editor and then they are done. So I thought like maybe that's the normal way to go when you do a lot of video because many people are doing it like this.
Oh yeah, I think it's the normal way to go, and I think those guys that are editors, they have like crazy computers that are just like handling it, you know. Like sometimes I watch like YouTube tutorials and they hit enter and it's like done rendering the file in like 10 seconds. I'm thinking like what? that would never happen to me. So yeah, I think some of these editor guys, they that's what they do all day, so they're set up for it. So it does make sense if you prefer somebody else doing it. It just makes sense to send them.
And you can shoot in that time another stuff you can which you can earn money with and which you personally enjoy. So I think when you work on something else in that time where somebody else is cutting for you, then it's still effective, right?
Yeah, I think
Totally,
so. I think for sure. And I think that's one of the things that I have to learn. That's like the hard thing for me to learn right now that I have to accept more myself is, you know, passing it over so you can just create more. Pass it over so that you can get going and move faster. Because we're living in like in extremely fast times. Everything has to be done fast. There's no time for slow stuff.
Totally. And the one thing we wanted to ask you is about your media agency, Storm Rae Media Agency, right?
Yes.
And
So this is for
Commercial
it's
stuff.
hard. It's hard to define myself as a photographer on what I post where because I shoot everything, right? I shoot weddings, I shoot portraits, I shoot commercials, I shoot everything. And I was really finding it hard to put the stuff that I find really for me like a passion and the stuff that's more like for earning an income. And so that's why I created Storm Rae Media. It's all for the commercial stuff. Like when I have clients, I can just send them there and say, okay, you can go there and check out that. And because my website is just going to be about fashion and beauty. So yeah, I just did another website. And that's hard for me too. Sometimes I think, should I combine it all into one, or is it better to have two? You have to think of all these decisions which work good for you and how you present yourself for clients. At the end of the day, like for me, clients are like the most important thing. And I need to present stuff to them in a fast way that they can see it and not be disturbed by other things, you know? So if I have somebody and they're like, okay, we want portraits of models with this toothbrush, how are we going to do that? And I'm just going to send them to Storm Rae Media.
Yeah, but also your personal website looks really nice. So I scrolled through it yesterday, and I think it's super artistic and it's fun to watch. And also the pics are really good. So you did an amazing job there. So it's really
Thank
nice.
you. Yeah, that was an interesting time, because I had to switch over my website, because nowadays websites are like growing at a crazy rate and changing, and it's like, once again, it comes back to education. Like, how can I make something that's more modern? And that's where that website took over. I was like, I need something crazy and modern and different, and I can't just have it like my old website was just like, you landed on it and there was just some pictures, you know, and nothing flashing, nothing moving. And, you know, 2 years from now, I'll need a new website again, and it will be totally different. The web 2 years from now, and I'll have to educate myself again, or I'll have to get a web editor. The reason why I like doing it myself is because I have more access to updating it really quick. I don't have to ask somebody, hey, can you update this for me? And and a good tip for everybody, I used Webflow to create my website, and it's a really cool new program. I used to use Dreamweaver, like with Adobe. But I feel like Adobe kind of fell behind with their
updates and with the features.
They had Muse, and it was pretty cool. And then they decided to get rid of Muse, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just created a whole website with Muse, and now you're going to tell me you're going to suspend Muse and not update it. So now I need to go somewhere else. Then I wanted to go back to Dreamweaver and realize that I hadn't been on Dreamweaver for like 4 years, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't like learn coding crazy all over again. So then I jumped over, did some research, and jumped over to Webflow, and I really like it. I'm super satisfied with their service. It's a little bit pricey, but it's still designing your own website. You still design and create your own website. It's not just like popping things in, but it just has more fun features.
I will check it out for sure, because your website looks amazing. I did mine with Squarespace, and it's like just images and nothing especially moving. And I was looking for something like this. I will have a look and let you know how I like it.
Yeah, I had that debate, you know, at that time. I was like, should I do something, you know, like Squarespace? And when I was looking over Squarespace, I felt like I didn't have enough access to designing myself. I need to be able, like, I think when you make a website as a creative person, you need to have like a certain amount of design element in there, so that how you imagine it, it can come out. And there's always going to be like certain things that hold you back with web design. Like, I wish that I could do, even with my website, like I wish there's other things I could do with how I present it, but there's always like little codes or little things to hold you back. And I think that's the thing with Squarespace, as I found that I didn't have as much design potential as Webflow.
Definitely.
So definitely check out Webflow. They're really cool.
I also think the problem for pages like Squarespace is that when you use it, then your website looks like many photographers will have the same design. So this is what I found out. I did my website on Squarespace, and now I found dozens of photographers who look almost the same. And this is like not nice, because it's not personalized and you don't stand out with that. So I think how you did it is the best way. I will try it.
Check them out. They're really cool. It might take a bit of frustration, but it will be worth it in the end when you get those cool results. You know, like the Scorpio flying up or spinning, and it's really cool. It's really cool. And they have other things that you can do, like if you want to make a blog, or like a really interactive blogs that can really suck the people in. I'm not good at writing. I'm like the worst person at writing, so that's why I don't do blogging. Yeah, I can't express myself with words when I have to think about stuff, and I'm like, I'm such a better talker than I am a writer. Yeah. So that's cool. It must be a creative thing.
Definitely. Okay, so we are almost coming to an end, and we wanted to ask you advice for beginners now in the industry, like if you have any tip or advice.
I really do. I think when you're starting out, the biggest tip, the most important thing to do is shoot nonstop. Take a camera with you everywhere and practice. Find out what you like. Find out what you connect with the most, and shoot as much as you can. And then also try to find a photographer that you can assist.
Yes.
Because I think you will learn more from assisting a photographer than you would in other ways. Like, I mean, like, for example, just coming back to myself for a second, when I was learning photography, I was in photography school for 1 year already. And then I had the request to assist a photographer, and his name is Steve Carty, and he's a Toronto-based photographer, and he shot basically like everyone you can imagine, any famous person you can imagine. He's probably worked with them, and I worked with him for 1 week, and it's like a switch went off in my brain, and I understood photography different. And I was like, dude, you just helped me so much. Like, you've just changed my entire perspective on how photography works from 1 week of working with him. And after that week, I had 1 year left of school. And I was like one of the top graduates of my photography school. Because I really, he did something to my brain that made me understand photography. And that's why I think if you can assist somebody, just ask to come by to a few photo shoots, and don't expect, you know, that you're going to get paid a lot of money. I did my whole week for free, touching back on the free topics, but I did it for free just to experience and learn. And I was at the start, and I was young. And I think that that's what you need to do. You need to put in those hours and that time to figure out what you like. And you need to study light. And that's my tips. Like, go on YouTube, type in portrait photography, lighting, type in light brands, like type in pro photo lighting session, and try to learn from other people how to light, and then go experiment with that. If you don't have access to a lot of gear, which most people at the start, they don't have access to that, then just go outside and experiment with even the shadows outside and the light outside and reflectors, and just experiment as much as you can with light. Because if you don't experiment with light, then you're going to take, in my opinion, boring photos, because they're always going to be lit the same.
Definitely. And where can people find your work? Is it on Instagram, or would you recommend people to go check out your website?
Yes, we come back to social media. So it's on Instagram, it's Kendra Storm Rae, and my website is kendrarae.com. So that's the best places to find what I do. And I guess like Google, just type in Kendra Storm on Google and you'll find me. Yeah.
Awesome.
We really recommend checking it out, because the work is amazing. Seriously.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all your valuable thoughts.
When
Definitely.
These times are not here, and we can meet and have a photography conversation. I really like that.
Definitely.
It's so nice that's the one thing I love. Like, when you can talk with another photographer, it's like you can actually have a conversation about like passion and something you love, and the conversation is completely different to people who are not so into that realm.
Totally.
So it's really nice to talk to people about gear, and
this is why I love this podcast, right?
Yeah.
This podcast is so nice. In the beginning, I wasn't sure about it, but now I love it, because it's always connecting with people in the same industry, in the same passion. It's amazing.
It's
amazing.
And that's how you meet people, like what we just talked about this whole time. That's how you meet the right people who can, you know, say, hey, let's meet up, and then they can introduce you to somebody else, and it's probably like the best thing you could have done. Yeah.
Totally.
Thank you
Totally
for
agree.
talking me into it.
It's really cool. Thank you so much for having me for this conversation. It was really a pleasure, and hopefully in the future we'll have a real one.
For sure.
Yeah, in person, and not on this digital way, because hopefully it will be over soon.
Definitely. Fingers crossed. Thank you so much, guys,
Thank
for
you so
joining.
much, guys, and I will check out all of your websites after this too, and check out your work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Highly welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Stay healthy, and see you hopefully soon.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.